So, Trevor, welcome.
Thanks, Dan.
Just give us a summary quickly of who TFconnect represent.
We actually operate all over the world. So, we work with associations in the US. We work with, sometimes government bodies in the Middle East. Clients include DWTC, Clarion, Tarsus, 19 events. I say I choose my clients. I think when I know my candidates, it's important to know that they're going into an environment which is the right culture, the right chemistry.
But talk to me about the types of roles that you're currently working on and the roles that you see generally within the trade show and exhibition industry as we come out of the pandemic.
Okay, currently is the key word there, actually. As we came out the pandemic, organisers were very early on looking for low-level sales and marketing. They didn't have money in the bank, but they needed to sell, they needed to market. Then we got into late end of part of last year, mid-level roles, marketing directors, sales directors, and now we're seeing the real serious stuff where organisers realise there's a path out of this around government policy. So when we are now seeing MD hires and regional directors, more senior roles.
Because obviously when I look on, and you mentioned this just now, but when I look on social media, personally, I still see the same roles I've been seeing for the last sort of 6 months. So the marketing execs, the commercial exec, sales manager. Why is it that we don't see the more senior roles that you mentioned sort of above the line media, like LinkedIn, for example? And if you're saying they exist, why aren't they in the public domain?
For the large part, they never have been in public domains. There can be very good reasons that an organizer doesn't want to publicize those roles. Often it will be not wanting to cause disruption internally. And there may be, the reality is there may be an incumbent in the role. And but the company realizes they need to make a change, and it needs to be done properly. It needs to be done confidentially. It needs to be done from a position of trust and without causing disruption. So the reality is most senior roles will not be in the public domain.
Sure. So if there's a message to people that moved on, 18 months ago that's still looking for that senior role, there are roles out there that are just not being advertised, and they should get in contact with a person like yourselves. In terms of salaries, because there's always a lot of talk in the industry about how we attract new people, maybe we've underpaid or in relation to other industries. Are you seeing an uptick in salaries across all levels, or only certain positions? What's your view on salaries at the moment in the market?
I think at the more senior levels, organisers, venues, contractors are being realistic and realising that to keep people, they've got to pay the right amount or provide the right level of benefits or LTIPs that keep people engaged. Lower levels, I'm still seeing organisers expecting to get the earth for not very much money. When roles are still being advertised at £28,000-30,000, when the reason we lost a lot of people is when the pandemic struck, lower level people realised they could earn more money in other sectors, and we've not wised up to that at the lower level.
And in terms of the types of skills, just moving on to candidates, and the role or the requirements with the role that some of your clients wish for, have you seen that change over the last few months specifically?
I'm seeing two things. One, digital, as you've mentioned. There's absolutely companies want to bring that on board. Nobody sees that as the driver. They see it as adding to the mix, adding new revenue streams, adding content, adding that 365-day experience. And then the other thing is, I'm seeing more and more matrix systems where companies want specialists. They want a strategist. They want a marketer. They want a sales function that are working together on the same level. Content production very much in that mix as well, where you get a team approach to producing the experience that the clients want.
Sure. We spoke about the fact that there are lots of roles that aren't necessarily advertised for the reasons that you brought to life. Is that the same for candidates, that when you speak to a trade show organizer, they might suggest, well, there's not a lot of candidates at the moment, that actually there are actually a pool of candidates that just aren't in the public domain? Does that ring true?
It rings true, Dan, at mid levels and higher levels. At junior levels, yes, we've got a problem. we've got to, I'm talking to our associations about needing to step up the game in attracting people to our industry. But those at mid-level and high level that not only are in the industry but don't want to leave it, there's a number. I've got more people than I've got roles at mid and senior levels. People that just made a decision. They want something different. They want something bigger. Again, for reasons of confidentiality and trust, they're not going to respond to a LinkedIn advert. They can't, be open about what they're doing. They need to trust a process that keeps, if they're working somewhere else, that keeps that confidential until the right time.
Sure. And have you seen the way that candidates present themselves change?
I think there's a thought process change in that people are looking at where they're at and looking at other companies and seeing whether that company provides something better. They may have a view on how their company has behaved during and through the lockdown. So I think it's more a thought process change, not an attitude. I think actually on the client side, we're seeing more of that. So organisers, venues, contractors, those that are making a decision to run a better or different process or present their company in a better light, and those that are trying same old and getting the same result. So I think you ask a good question, but it's more about client side than candidate side.
Trevor, we spoke about salaries, and obviously money clearly is a big driver for candidates in terms of their thought process of where they might move to. What other things are candidates telling you that they want? For example, is remote working still a thing? Or?
Now, I'm going to talk at mid and senior levels, and I don't see demands for whether it's hybrid, whether it's time off for certain things. That's not there because people understand the nature of our industry. They know that you can be full on for 3 weeks and then and then nothing for a week. So that flexibility on both sides is being seen. But what a lot of people are really interested in is being rewarded for the upside. So actually salary can often take a second place to what are the incentives? Where's the incentive plan? Where's the rewards for growth? And surely on the client side, that's music to their ears. If somebody is prepared to sacrifice on the basic and be part of growth, lots of people are thinking that they want the opportunity to be rewarded for growth they can bring.
And I think with the rise of private equity over the last 15 years or so within the trade show and exhibition industry, I mean, more and more people are interested if there's an equity upside as well potentially.
In some of that, it's join the queue. I've certainly helped a few people, just because of the shortage of it. I think there'll be more. There's a general trend of companies coming off the stock market and going to private equity, and there are some really good people that would like to join that journey. So that's reality.
Well, have you seen a noticeable change in the way that employers are behaving in terms of how they recruit?
Yes and no is the answer to that. There are some that have made a very definite change, realising they need a USP to attract the best talent. I had a recent conversation with Peter Jones on exactly that. They're very, very focused on providing the right culture in the business, and others that are still doing the same thing. It's not responding to CVs, delays in interviews, cancelled interviews, and you might get a very good candidate interviewed by 2 different people at different times in a company. You'd think they're recruiting for different jobs. It's that lack of planning, lack of joined up thinking, and so good candidates will discriminate on that basis. The companies that they feel are doing it right and those that feel a bit chaotic.
Yeah. I think you make a good point, because sometimes it could be perceived by the candidate that almost like the company they're applying for doing them a favour by sort of coming back to them and actually not understanding that it's a two-way process, right? So the company that you're applying for has to sell to you the benefits of joining and why you would join, and vice versa. What types of practices are they employing? I see lots of companies hiring talent managers. Is that a new role? It seems that lots of them coming on board. What give me your views on this, on talent managers?
I see companies oscillating in that. It's we have in-house talent, and no, we don't. We need to work with outside parties. We need to do it direct. There's no right or wrong reason. It's all about attitude. So there are companies where the HR provides a really good support function to the hiring managers who are the experts in their industry, in the markets, on the shows. And for me, that's the right way. Talent people within a business and HR work if it's seen as a support function, not the driver of that business. But often these the talent managers won't know the industry, let alone the sectors, the shows. Working with the industry and working with their colleagues rather than driving it has got to be the only way that works.
In your opinion, what sort of best practices do you think, or how do you think a company can improve when they're trying to promote their roles and also when they've got candidates that are applying for them? What things do you think they could sort of improve upon to make the experience better? Probably
the main thing is speed. If you're in a process, crack on with it rather than we've interviewed people at stage 1. We'll do second interviews in 3 weeks' time. Well, They won't be around. Good people won't be around 3 weeks later. Yeah. So that creates chaos. The speed, and actually, in big companies, HR will slow a process. So I generally avoid that situation. If I'm working directly, for example, with Doug Emsley at Tarsus, he's the best. He'll interview somebody. He's on the phone to me within 5 minutes to give me feedback and tell me what the next stage of that is. Waiting a week or two until the whole interview process has gone through, is clunky and it doesn't work. So, I'd always say speed's of the essence.
So it comes back to planning, and as event planners, we should be up to speed with that, knowing exactly when we want to take someone aboard, who's going to interview people, when they're going to do it, what the process is, how many interviews there are going to be, how many are going to take to a short list, and so on and so forth. So
I'm a realist, and there is the real world that when you're running shows and you're on site, that can cause delays. But again, you can manage that and manage expectations rather than it's gone very quiet.
Yeah, Trevor, in terms of the way that people are interviewing candidates at the moment at various stages, I guess definitely maybe 3, 6, 9, 12 months ago, the first few interviews were always virtual. Are you seeing a return to more traditional practices that now all stages are in person, or are you still seeing virtual being used as sort of that filter, if you like, at the beginning?
Actually, I think that's one of the upsides of the lockdown, is that realization that actually this, for the first interview, is a really good way of doing it. It can be, you can quickly come across a problem and realize that you might as well cut, after 10 minutes. And so I think this is a great first stage. I'm still seeing people being hired without meeting at all, which is a little bit scary, and we'll see how that goes. Sometimes it's just a reality and the practicality that it can't happen, particularly on cross-border stuff. But no, I think this is a first stage, and then face-to-face is generally the way it's going, and I think that's a good thing.
So Trevor, just turning to tfconnect itself, I know that you're working around 40 roles at the moment, which is fantastic across all areas of the world. And I understand that that's led to a need within your own business. So tell us about the role that you're currently looking to recruit for.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, because for everybody that loves the events industry, most people don't love the idea of recruitment. It's that reputation alongside second-hand car dealers and estate agents. But it's a real people business. It's incredible, the satisfaction of making a client and a candidate happy, both getting the result they want. And I've got room for people in the business. I work with a brilliant bunch of group of freelancers, and apart from the 40+ roles, I've got a lot of clients that want introductions to key candidates, and that's the bit that we're struggling to do. And if you match the right company with the right individual, whichever way around that is, if somebody fancies that, I'm happy to talk to them.